Hello, thank you so much, and of course, welcome back. Welcome to Final Ways with this week, and of course, this week we want to talk about AFCON 2021, starting in a couple of weeks, in a couple of days' time in Cameroon, and of course, to help me understand how preparations are in Cameroon, I have a friend of mine all the way from Cameroon, the host country that is, the country that is hosting this tournament, Dewah Fabrice Teh. I hope I pronounced that name correctly.
That's correct.
So, Dewah, first of all, tell us who you are, and of course, where you are in Cameroon. Is the city you are in at the moment going to host the tournament?
Yeah, actually, my name is Dewah Fabrice Teh, as you just said, and I'm a sport writer based here in Yaoundé. I'm also a journalist. So Yaoundé is one of the host cities for the AFCON, where there are going to be two pools. That is pools A and Pool C. Pool A is the Yaoundé Olympic Stadium, and Pool C is the Yaoundé Amadou Ejo Stadium.
So, first of all, I know when these tournaments are being played in countries, we have to know this for tourists who want to come to Cameroon. How many cities are going to host the tournament? Is it only Yaoundé, as some of us where we come from? I think the major city we know in Cameroon is Yaoundé. Is it only Yaoundé?
No, not at all. We have 5 cities selected for the AFCON, though there are 6 pools, because there are actually 2 pools out here in Yaoundé. That's, as I said, Pool A and Pool C. So we have 5 cities that will be hosting the AFCON tournament. That's Yaoundé, the capital. There's also Douala, the economic heartbeat of the country. And there's also Bafoussam that's going to host Pool B of the tournament. And there's Limbe in the southwest part of the country. And there is also Garoua, that's in the northern part of the country.
So Dewah, help me understand. How is Cameroon prepared towards the tournament? I think there's a tournament that was taken away from them. Then this one now they've been given the rights to host it. What's different from then? How is the country prepared to host the 2021 tournament that is being played in 2022?
Well, I think Cameroon is very ready for the AFCON now, even though when you look at what happened in 2019 when the tournament was taken off from Cameroon, there's a very big difference in terms of infrastructural development. At the time, we were still to complete the Olympic Stadium, which was recently completed per information from the Confederation of African Football, CAF, and what we have gotten from the field as reporters. So I think when you look at that aspect, Cameroon is ready for the event much better than it was 2 or 3 years ago when the tournament was taken off from the country. So when you look at areas like Garoua, where we had works going on at the time, and in Olymbe, as I said, there were still some field works that were still pending and which has been completed now. So I think when compared to 2 situations now, Cameroon is much more better now for the AFCON tournament.
There were rumors that some stadiums would not be ready for for the tournament. I don't know. Is that stadium that you could say construction is still going on, or all the stadia are ready now for the tournament? Now that the tournament is just, is around the corner. Because where I come from, there have been rumors. People have been saying, Cameroon is not ready. The infrastructure is not ready. The hotels, all those. Because a tournament like AFCON is not only the stadium, even the hotels that are going to accommodate the visitors that are going to come from all walks of the world. Can you tell us, in terms of the infrastructure, everything is ready? The stadium, the hotels?
Yeah, for sure. I have to be very sincere. I think one of the very difficult things we had in the build-up to the AFCON was what I can call misinformation, because what we hear from the international media, for instance, is not what is actually happening in Cameroon. It's true, the biggest stadium, which is actually the most important event, stadium for the event, was still having some issues at the Yaoundé Olympic Stadium, which was, having some issues with the walls around barely a few weeks ago. But I can assure you that has been fixed, and the stadium has been arranged and is ready for the opening ceremony of the event on January 9. The stadium was making news because actually people got misinformed on what the stadium is all about. The stadium, based on the project, is supposed to be a complex that's made up of hotels and other leisure sports, which has not been constructed yet. But the stadium itself is ready, and that's where many people are getting things mixed up, and many people were saying the stadium will not be ready for the AFCON, which is actually not the truth on ground. And in other aspects, as you said, in terms of hotels and all, I think Cameroon was ready for that. In fact, more than 3 years ago, because I can assure you, we have hotels in Cameroon that are very ready for the events. In Yaoundé, for instance, we have at least 2 4-star hotels that have been selected. That's the Montpellier Hotel and the Yaoundé Hilton Hotel. That's actually the 2 finest hotels in the country. There's also the Palace Hotel, still Yaoundé. You go to the southwest region where I think that's Pool E is going to be based. That's in Limbe. We have 5 hotels or 4. I think there's Fini Hotel, there's Limbe Beach Hotel, there's the Parliamentarian Plus Hotel. That's the same issue for Douala, where there's going to be Pool D, Pool E, I guess. Yes. We have Saba Hotel and all the other hotels. So I think in that domain, Cameroon is ready.
Okay, Cameroon is ready, as you know, Dewah puts it. When you hear from a journalist who comes from Cameroon, then you got to believe it, because some of us are being fed information, as you put it rightly, that there's a lot of misinformation. People hear a lot of stories from, the international media misrepresenting what is on the ground. But now, Dewah, let's face it, at the moment, the globe is facing the pandemic, and this pandemic has really affected all aspects of our livelihoods. Surely, it is going to affect how this tournament is going to be run. I don't know. First of all, let me hear from you. Are fans going to be allowed to attend this tournament in the stadium?
Yes, of course. Fans are going to be allowed to attend games during the event. A few weeks ago, the Minister for Sport here in the country, he's called Mr. Professor Nasser Kombi, and the Minister for Health, Dr. Manauda Manache, both had a joint press conference with the Confederation of African Football, and fans were assured that they are going to be given the right to attend games, and that's going to be on one condition: that those who were allowed in the various stadiums will have to show negative COVID-19 tests that have been conducted. That's for the PCR test. It's going to be that's at least 72 hours before the games, and for the antigen test is going to be latest 24 hours. So fans will be allowed to enter the various stadiums for the games.
Let me ask, are these fans Cameroonians, or we're going to have international fans? Let's say fans from South Africa, fans from Kenya, fans from Ethiopia. Ethiopia is one of the teams that are coming to Cameroon. Are these fans going to be only Cameroonians, or even the international fans who are coming to see?
Well, fans, there is no limitation, there is no segmentation in the categories of fans that are allowed in the country. Everybody, per information we are getting into the country, there is going to be free visas. That's not confirmed yet, but fans are given the right to come into the country and follow the games and all the rest. So the only thing you need to do is to, when you arrive at the airport or all the other border areas where you are entering into the state, you have to show a negative COVID-19 test, and that's actually what has been happening in the last few days, where when some countries have been coming in, like the case of Ethiopia, which came in during the weekend. They arrived here at the Yaoundé Simale International Airport. That's barely a few meters away from me, actually. They did their COVID-19 test before going to their hotels. That's Hotel de la Députée, that's the Parliamentarians Hotel here in the city. So fans will be allowed just on one condition: show you have to have a COVID-19 test. If you are negative, you'll be given a free entry, and if you are not, you'll be taken to a treatment center where you'll be taken care of, and thereafter you can have right to the various stadiums in the country.
I know you watch the Premier League, and of course you support Manchester United. According to we have mingled a lot, so I know you support Manchester United. European clubs, there are rumors that they are not going to allow their players, African players, to come and play this tournament. But it happens now that they're going to be released a bit late, something that is out of the norm, because this is a tournament when AFCON is going to be played, European players are always released a fortnight before the tournament starts. But now the earliest they can be released by the European clubs is the 3rd of January. How is this going to affect the tournament itself? Because if you look at Salah, Mendy, Mane are going to be released on the 3rd. Is it going to have an effect on the preparation for these countries?
Yes, I think it's going to affect the preparation for the various teams, but mainly I would say you affect those big nations where you have players playing for the foreign leagues, but there are countries where you have barely issues with that, like in the case of, let's say, Ethiopia, where you have very few countries players coming in from other foreign countries to play for the country. A case like Zimbabwe and others, or Malawi, where you have so many local-based players who will be coming in for the tournament to participate. But now I think the countries that will be facing the biggest trouble for the event will be nations like Senegal, where you have a 100% foreign-based squad for the AFCON tournament, and others like Algeria, where you also having a high number of foreign-based players, and even Cameroon, where even though we have very few players who have those difficulties because we have very few players now in the English Premier League. The only player we have in the English Premier League who could be called and has not been called actually is Nicolas Nkolo, playing for Watford. So Joel Matip of Liverpool is not playing for the national team. So we have very few issues with that. But I must assure you that those countries that will be facing difficulties with that will be those big nations that are exporting players in the foreign leagues. But for the very few countries where players are coming in from the domestic championship, like I made mention of Zimbabwe or Malawi, or even case of Ethiopia, I think there will be very few issues of teams facing difficulties. But in a global manner, I think it's going to affect the preparation of the various teams.
Let's now talk about the Cameroon national team, the Indomitable Lions. They're the host country. Everybody now expects them to win the tournament. This is their tournament. According to what you've seen in terms of their preparation, can they win this tournament?
Well, I think it's a very complex question because we are barely at the initial phase of the training. In fact, we have not had all the players in Cameroon. They just began training. There was just a gathering a few days ago. I think that was on Monday. So we have still to have proper training for the team. But when you look at the squad that has been summoned so far, I think it's a team that, if we're taken care of, I think the country can do better in the AFCON and why not win the trophy. But the issue is the media in Cameroon doesn't want to make the fans have the feeling that the country must win the AFCON, because it should be something very dangerous to be done, because the kind of ambience and the kind of feelings people can show up when the host country, for instance, is not giving the kind of result that is expected of them. So I think that's one of the areas we are concentrating. But generally, when you look at the players in camp and the coach too, Antonio Conceição, having taken care of the team for I think the last 2 years, he has played very big games, including the game against Ivory Coast last month. It's a team that, if we take good care of them, they can be able to produce the result and why not bring home the trophy. We have stars like Andre Onana at the goalkeeping compartment, who we trust so much to produce for us, and the defensive compartment we have Belgium-based Mike Ngadiou and Five Collins of Standard Liège and Genk. We also have in the midfield Koundé Malone, who plays in Greece, and Zambo Anguissa, who plays for Napoli out there in Italy. And at the attacking compartment, we have the 2017 MVP Christian Bassogog. We have Katoko Kambi of Olympique Lyonnais. We have the captain Eric Choupo-Moting of Bayern Munich and others. So I think it's a pretty good team if we take good care of them, and if they receive the kind of support that they deserve from the fans and the technical bench. I think the country can do well to win its seat title in the African Cup of Nations.
I like how safe you're playing, because you're not saying that this is our tournament, we are going to win. I like how being safe, you're trying to be safe, which is good for a football fan. But we are winding up, because this show was just basically for looking at how the Cameroon as a country is prepared towards the tournament. We'll get into matches when matches begin in January. But Cameroon now have you guys now have a new, should I call him president, because even in Kenya we call federations heads as president. I don't know which name you call them in Cameroon. Samuel Fils Eto'o is now the president of Cameroon and Football Federation. Has the country received him well now that he's now the head of that federation? And what does the country expect of him to do for the football in that country? Because I know Cameroon is a football nation, a football-loving nation.
I must tell you, Eto's election as the president of the Cameroon Football Federation was received in the country as, perhaps, we can describe that as a presidential election, someone who has been elected to govern the whole country, because it's like something that we didn't expect. Him being a youngster, barely in his 40s, and he defeated an interim president who is older than him and who was kind of said to be receiving backing from various quarters and all the rest. So I think his election was a very big surprise for many, and it was received with very high rate of positivity and all the rest. And even globally, the African continent, you see most players coming up now to say they want to do the same, like the case of Senegal, where we see Hash Diouf trying to do the same, and Cote d'Ivoire, where Didier Drogba is thinking of also doing the same. So I think it was generally received positively here in Cameroon and generally in the African continent and worldwide. Yeah, many people expect much from him. They expect him to help develop the country's football, most especially the domestic football championship, where we have been having issues in the past years. Our teams have not been performing well at the CAF, that's the CAF Champions League and the Confederations Cup level and all the rest. So many people expect him to help develop the league and to ensure that the league gets back to the standard where we used to see countries or clubs in the country winning the Champions League, the Canon of Yaoundé and Union of Douala in the yesteryear. So that's what people expect from him, and I think based on the project he put so far, he may deliver, and we just look forward to seeing him doing so. Recently, he gave the national team a new team boss. That's actually the first thing, the biggest thing he has done so far for the national team. He gave the Football Federation, that's the national team, he said the Indomitable Lions, a new 70-seater boss, which they are going to be using perhaps for upcoming competitions, because they already have a boss for the AFCON. So perhaps they may use the boss, but that's what he has done so far. So he has given the team a new boss, which is one of the biggest things he has done so far for the federation and for the team.
All right, thank you. That's, I think, is a perfect place to leave to leave it today. And of course, I hope we are going to do this when it's, because now you now become our plug in Cameroon, because Kenyans, of course, will be watching the football matches on TV, but also we need to also to know what's happening behind the scenes. And of course, thank you so much, Dewah, for coming, to talk to us and tell us how Cameroon as a nation is prepared to host the 2021 AFCON that is happening in 2022, because it was postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you so much, and of course, next time, be rest assured that Dewah is going to help us analyze everything that's happening, talk about Cameroon, Zimbabwe, Morocco, Ethiopia, our neighbors here in Kenya, Kenyan neighbors here, and of course everybody. And I think Kenyans might be tempted to support their neighbors, Ethiopia, I don't know. Some will be saying that I'll be supporting Cameroon. Let's wait and see. And by the way, Dewah, Cameroon has so many fans in Kenya during the time of Samuel Eto'o, and of course the legends that have so far retired. So thank you so much, and see you next time.